welcome to the Mickey Mike Show. I'm your host, Mickey Distefano, and I'm joined here with Patrick Allen and Patrick Stothers. Welcome to the podcast, gentlemen.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Stothers, this is the first time that you've been on here. Pat's been on here a few times, but you're a rookie to the show, eh?
Yeah, it's been, you didn't invite me ever before this.
We're gonna
happy to be here, though. It's good. I've been annoying you to get on this show, so I'm glad to be here at a crucial time like this, trade deadline.
It is, and the deadline's come and gone, and we're into the final stretch of the season, so let's get into it and discuss what did and didn't happen on Monday at the NHL's 3 p.m. trade deadline, and let's not waste any time. Let's go through it. First, I just want to know, what were your overall thoughts about this deadline this year? Start with you, Patrick Allen.
Well, it was
the lesser of the two Pats. Sorry, proceed.
I love having Stothers on the podcast.
I'll never be invited back.
I'd say overall, I mean, my really only takeaway is just a lot of deals get done after the deadline. I mean, it was like 60% of the trades came in after 3 o'clock, but that last hour was definitely worth it with McDonough going and everything, which I think was the deal everyone was expecting to get done of the big blockbuster trades. But yeah, Stothers, how about you?
I think it was a pretty good deadline. Usually it's lackluster. But this one, I think it's just because there's a changing of the guard. Like, teams that used to be good are no longer good. Like Chicago. Chicago kind of had some trouble with Crawford. But, like, there's a changing. There's teams that are shooting up now. The buyers are sellers and the sellers are buyers and everything.
Yeah, I think you kind of hit the nail on the head where you say it's a bit of a change of guard. Like, the Rangers have been buyers for so many years, and the Blackhawks have been buyers for so many years, and now it's kind of time for them to tear it down. Same with the Red Wings. And it was just a little different. And although there wasn't as many trades as there has been in a few years, I thought that the names that were out there were quite noteworthy. You know, like Rick Nash, pretty big name. Evander Kane, Paul Stastny. Like, we had some solid trades out there, some solid names. So let's just go through the noteworthy trades.
Do you want to do those three?
Well, we're going to go through it. I got like a list of 6 or 7 big ones here that happened over the course of the week. I don't want to just focus on the day because it's really kind of it's kind of a whole month, to be honest with you. Like, this all kind of started off and kicked off with the Dion Phaneuf trade. And then we had a bunch of trades kind of trickle in as we went off. So we could talk about the entire month as a whole, and more importantly, the last week, I guess. So let's just start off with that Evander Kane trade, because I think this was something that a lot of people had some issues with, because Evander Kane didn't fetch a first-round pick like a lot of people thought, when other teams or other players who may not be as good as Kane were able to fetch a higher price tag. What were your thoughts on the trade? I'll start with Stothers first.
I think San Jose was hurting without Marleau. They needed a winger like Kane. Okay. I think that might work. But I don't see San Jose doing anything special into the playoffs. I don't know. San Jose's a tough one because they're still competitive. But they're almost like the Rangers like a year or two ago. I mean, I think maybe take one last shot. But how much time do you have left before you rebuild? Or are they doing it on the fly? I don't know. They got some young talent, but...
I mean, they ended up getting a conditional first. They gave up a conditional first, a 4th-round pick, and Danny O'Regan, who's a 24-year-old prospect. Whether or not he turns out to be anything remains to be seen. It's
so tough to say who wins the trade right away, because Buffalo, what did they get there? A series of picks, prospect. Like, it might be, sometimes it works out. They had to move Kane.
Yeah.
They had to move his contract.
But were you surprised that they weren't able to get as big a return back when you see some of the other deals that went down?
Maybe I am. Maybe I am. I don't know. I'm undecided. I feel like Kane, there's questions around him. Everyone talks about his attitude and stuff. Who knows if it's true? The guy scores goals. We know that. So he should have fetched a lot. I think he should have fetched a lot.
What do you think, Pat?
The thing for me, I think San Jose really... I mean, you didn't really take much of a risk. I mean, I was so shocked with when Boston, I thought what they set the market at in the Rick Nash trade. I mean, that's, if you're just looking at things, they're both big, powerful wingers who have, who can score goals. And Rick Nash is on the wrong side of 30, and Evander Kane is, 26 years old. So to have Nash go for so much and then Kane go for, as you said, a conditional first, which is most likely going to be a second, because I think Evander Kane's going to hit the open market, and it wouldn't surprise me if he went to the team that offered him the most money. I don't know if San Jose can quite necessarily do that, but from San Jose's perspective, I think, as Stothers said, they definitely need to replace some goals. They lost with Marleau, so I think that it's a good roll of the dice for a young player who's obviously had some controversy surrounding him, but is only 26 years old and has a 30-goal season in the NHL.
Do you think Rick Nash is that much better than Evander Kane?
I would rather have Evander Kane than I would Rick Nash.
The market says, or based on that trade, Rick Nash is worth more.
Rick Nash is, I think when both their careers are over, it's going to be clear Rick Nash had the better career.
I think you also have to look at what he means to the team, right? So he could be worth more to the Boston Bruins than Kane is to the San Jose Sharks, if you see what I'm saying.
Yeah, no, I see exactly what you're saying. Like, Rick Nash plays that game that the Boston Bruins like to play. Like, he's a brutal guy to play against. He's tough. He's hard in the hard areas. I mean, Evander Kane is a great goal scorer, but like you said earlier, he's got a bit of an attitude. And I think this was more about the Buffalo. A lot of teams think that the Buffalo Sabres didn't get enough considering what the market was. But I think it's more so, I think they got market value for Evander Kane. I think it was just more so other teams like Rick Nash or a couple other players, even Tatar and Hartman, which we'll get later. They were more so overpayments. But I think if you look at the Evander Kane trade, it's more so what we saw in the past few years and what the market has dictated recently. I mean, if you take a look at the Miguel Bodker trade, they didn't even fetch much for him. Eric Stahl fetched a couple of seconds and a prospect. Not too much of a big return there. David Legwand, when he left, didn't fetch much. I think he fetched a prospect and like a third-round pick. Gabrick, when he went from Columbus to LA when he was still a prominent name, only got a second and a third. So, I mean, draft picks, to quote Jim Benning, draft picks are like gold. And, I mean, a lot of teams, I feel, overpaid.
Quoting Jim Benning, eh?
Heck yeah, I got to quote Jim Benning.
I like it.
It's the only time someone will ever quote him is not for good things, only for bad things.
Sorry to interrupt. When teams overpaid for draft picks.
Yeah, I just think that teams, it was more so, like if you're comparing the two deals, I think it was more of an overpayment for Nash than a steal for Evander Kane. I think Evander Kane, San Jose paid market value for what you look at, what trades have been, and what first-round picks and picks have been worth over the past few years.
Yeah, I mean, and it makes you think. I do agree with you. The Kane deal is definitely closer to what the market has been, and then Nash is just the outlier to that price tag. But you wonder if another team was in that conversation deep with New York, and then Boston just, when we want this guy, we're going to blow their socks off. Because I think it would be interesting to see the names that were being thrown around for someone that, as we said, we scored 40 goals in the NHL, Maurice Richard, future Hall of Famer. But
did you see him in the game, in the first couple games?
I saw the highlights last night. He saved a goal, and his quick release, like he's
got the reach. He's strong.
Yeah,
he brings a lot still to that Boston team, like you say. But what are some of the other prospects? Like Dion Phaneuf, you mentioned earlier. Dion Phaneuf is.
Well, the Dion Phaneuf trade, I just think that kind of started everything, but I think that trade was more so getting the term and the money off the books for Ottawa as it was bringing on a guy like Gabrick. I think Gabrick's just a player that they can plug into the lineup. He's nowhere near the player he was 10 years ago. Like, he's not going to be a 30, 40 goal scorer anymore. He's a guy who probably...
He's not going to be a 20 goal scorer.
Well, he may not play 20 games.
He's not going to be a 10 goal scorer.
It was just moving Dion Phaneuf's contract, but they brought in an equally as bad contract as Gabrick. So that trade was kind of weird, and I'm not exactly sure what happened. But
Dion's
Phaneuf,
been good.
He's been really good in LA. Like he's been exceptional. He's got like 4 or 5 points in the 5 or 6 games he's been there, and LA looks pretty good right now.
He's back on the West Coast.
Spoke about during that time, but we were rudely interrupted by somebody while recording. That will be edited out. But just a final note on the Dion Phaneuf thing. For Ottawa's sake, I don't think it was a really good deal. I think they just wanted to move that contract off the books. That's really all that was. And they brought back a player who has term, they can just throw in their lineup. I don't think it was a significant move. The other guy who came in, Nick Shore, they ended up flipping for like a 7th round pick. So it wasn't as significant of a deal, but it really got things going here. But let's just move right to the top deal of the day yesterday, and I think that was the Ryan McDonough and JT Miller trade for Vladimir Nemestikov, Libor Hayek, Brett Howden, a first and a conditional second. What are your thoughts on this deal?
Honestly, I struggle understanding this deal from the Rangers' perspective.
Really?
Giving up JT Miller, that's the one thing that really Nemestikov, you're going to have to trade you're going to have to extend him over the summer. He has ARB rates. He's going to get paid. For me, I don't see how they improve there. I'd rather have JT Miller than Nemestikov. So, I mean, I don't know what the market was. I know that a lot of teams were bidding on it, but I have a hard time looking at this deal without thinking that Steve Yzerman pulled another one.
What do you think? You think that
I think Nemestikov is perfect trade bait, or he was perfect trade bait for the Lightning. Like, he just the way he played on the line with Kucherov, Stamkos. He does have some skill, but he was on fire to start the season. Then he really slowed down.
Yeah.
Anyone who was wise would have traded them, or traded him in their fantasy leagues.
Or Yais.
Yeah, yes. But
No?
McDonough, conversely,
Yais?
from
Yzerman? He's Yais? Wise? Yais? No? All right.
That's a
Fine.
pretty awful joke. From the Lightning's standpoint, they're pretty much impenetrable. They have a perfect team.
But I mean, that's what I mean. Like I think Nemestikov overperformed. His salary is going to be determined by an arbitrator this summer. That's going to be primarily based off his stats of the last year.
Well, I think if you look at his stats over the past year, I mean, it's really tailed off, as Pat said, in the past month or two. So if you're looking, an arbitrator will take that into account, even when he goes over to Buffalo or into New York over the next month or two for the remainder of the season. That's also going to be into account. So if he's not putting up numbers like he was doing the first part of the season, then I mean, I don't know if he's going to get paid as much as people think he will.
And we have no idea what the prospects are going to do. The defenseman Hayek.
Yeah,
I know that they were very high on him. So it's like I'm not watching these people.
He was one of their best prospects, right?
Well, he was one of the better players of the World Juniors for the Czechs. He was really good. He was a second-round pick last year or the year before. But he was someone who they were really high on.
Yeah, so if that pans out, then a year from now we could.
Where does JT Miller fit in on the Lightning?
Well, I think he slots right into where Nemestikov was.
Is he top line?
I think so. I mean, I guess you could put maybe like a Palat there, but I think you just flip-flop Miller and Nemestikov.
I think, yeah.
Why would you mess with the other chemistry on the other lines that are going so well? Mm-hmm. You know? That's just what I personally saw that as like Nemestikov and JT Miller were kind of a flop 1-for-1, and then McDonough for Hayek held in a first and a second. So I know a lot of people thought that, or I've heard mixed feelings about this trade, but I'm on the side that I think the Rangers got a pretty good deal. I like what they got, and it's a conditional second, which could turn to a first, and I don't think it's out of the realm that Tampa Bay can win the Stanley Cup the next 2 years. And if they do, that's 2 first-round picks, along with Brett Hoden, who was a first-round pick last year, and you also we talked about Hayek. So that's a pretty good haul. I'm a fan of the deal. I really do. I like it for both teams. I think this is a trade where both teams really got what they wanted, and both teams are set up good for the future.
You're objectively wrong for thinking that.
Why?
No, I'm just messing with you.
You got to give me an answer here. Why am I objectively wrong?
You're right. It's a good trade.
I like the trade.
I want it to be lopsided. I want someone to get ripped off. Those are more fun to talk about.
You want to talk about a lopsided, ripped-off deal? Let's move to the Thomas Tatar.
Oh, let's please talk about that.
Let's talk about Thomas Tatar. Why? How's he worth a first, a second, and a third? How's he worth a first, let alone adding 2 more picks on top of that?
I mean, that trade just blew my mind. And Tatar, he's defined himself in the NHL. He is a person that is going to get 45 points, roughly, maybe give or take 5, every single season. And he has 3 more years on the book at $5.3 million. So this guy has the same cap hit as someone like Braden Shen, and right now has 28 points, so it's the same amount of points as Ryan Strome and Ryan Zingle, and he's getting a first, a second, and a third.
Brian Strome, former first-round draft pick, 5th overall.
Yeah, and
I will say this: how many picks do the Golden Knights have in the next couple of years?
This draft,
this draft, they
won
don't.
in the first 3 rounds.
Not this draft, but they do have a lot. stacked up.
They do. They have a lot of seconds stacked up over the next couple of years. But
still, you don't give
This is
3
an
picks for
afterthought.
Thomas
They're-
Tatar.
why are you giving
They're
away?
in
why are you
win now mode.
You could have got
and
Thomas
Tatar,
Tatar for a second.
as crummy as he may have been recently, is a sniper. That guy can score goals. He scored 30 goals in the NHL, did he not?
He got 29 once.
29. So he's capable of scoring goals. He's a guy that is a perfect fit for a cast-off Vegas Golden Knights team where you don't know who's going to score. He could be a depth third-liner guy.
They're first in the NHL.
But why are you
He's
giving
help
away?
for a cup run on a team in their first year of expansion. Give him the picks.
Yeah, but
no one thought he'd be here. Take all the picks.
I understand, but like, why are you okay? Sure, if you want to go ahead and
If you're a
talk
buyer,
about that,
you buy. If you're a seller, you sell.
But why are you overpaying for no reason?
What is overpaying?
Did they need their
Like
number?
I say,
You said their
maybe
number one.
Tatar
Their
is
number
worth
one.
something to the Vegas Golden Knights that we don't understand. Maybe he's like the perfect statistical fit for that team. We don't know.
I'm just they're number one in the NHL.
I'm not defending every stupid deal by saying that.
But this trade, I think, like, what if this trade doesn't work out and it actually ruins the chemistry on this team? Like, somehow this group of misfits.
A team in its first year of expansion is bad. How terrible would that be?
But they're so
Gamble.
good.
Go for Tatar. I don't know. I'm all for it. Sorry.
I'm not for this trade at all.
No, quite honestly, probably the most surprised I've been about a trade deadline deal in a very long time, and the first thing I thought of after I saw it was back to when the Leafs signed Jeff Finger, 4-year contract, like $3.5 million a year for someone that no one had ever heard of. Just like the disbelief about that is really how I look at this deal, because I just don't understand this compared to the market yesterday where you couldn't get a draft pick. You couldn't get a first-round draft pick unless you gave up like a bona fide NHL.
Yeah. Like, how does Thomas Tatar fit a first, a second, and a third? But if Vander Kane
gets a conditional
first.
Because different people in different situations are willing to do different things.
Okay.
I know that sounds very general, but that's what happened.
No,
the Golden Knights were willing to do it, and that's what it came down to.
I can't help but think that they were really hard on, and they were a team that
big on Carlson
was rumored to be big in on Carlson.
Does he have any history with any of the other players on the Golden Knights?
No.
Tatar? No.
Who's the one? Who did Vegas take from Detroit?
Thomas Noshik.
Also, was
a guy who's a
Tatar
tweener.
protected by the Red Wings?
Yes.
For sure?
Yeah.
What do you mean protected?
They didn't have anyone to protect.
Oh, of course he was.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah, okay.
Here's the
They signed him
only.
to.
I was going to say maybe it was like something like he was, say you didn't protect me or something like that.
Here's the only thing that I can think about this trade that Vegas is looking at. They don't have a lot of players that are signed beyond this year. So the only way that I think George McPhee can really spin this is they're not paying, like when you compare it to what Evander Kane got, they're not paying for 3 or 4 months of Evander Kane. They're paying for 4.5 years of Thomas Tatar. And for a team who isn't sure if Neil's going to come back, they need to have that assurance that they have someone who can put the puck in the back of the net next season, the season after that, and the season after that, and going forward. So to do that, I guess they felt that they were willing to give up these picks, considering that they got a bounty of them. Like, I just think they have so many picks that they just don't know what to do with them.
No, that's fair. For me, I have a tough time getting over the fact that I can almost guarantee that a player drafted in one of these 3 picks is going to end up being a better player than Thomas Tatar.
But when? Now? 3 years from now? 4 years from now? 5 years from now?
No, it's not outside the realm.
They're in win now mode for the length of Tatar's contract.
But should they be?
Going to be as good as Tatar? You're right.
But should they be?
This guy puts up 40 points a year.
He's been on the. I mean, he's been playing on a terrible Red Wings team for the past couple of years.
He's dejected.
And he hasn't put up more than 56 points in his career.
He is a sniper.
He's
a great shot.
He has 28 points this year.
He needs to be rejuvenated in the Golden Lights of Vegas.
Same amount of points as Ryan Zingle.
The Knights just have to make sure that he does get rejuvenated, or else that is not going to be a good deal.
What was another deal that you guys would say was a poor
Ryan Hartman.
execution?
Ryan Hartman.
Did seem like a lot.
I don't see how you give up a first rounder, a fourth, and a prospect for a guy who won't play past your third line. What are you giving up for a bottom six player?
I don't understand what a first round pick is anymore. I mean, you have at the draft last year, Ryan Reeves going for a first-round pick. Like, it's just you think you know, and then there's just something that's like, I have no idea anymore.
But then 2 years ago, Eric Stahl wasn't worth a first-round pick.
Phil Kessel was worth 2.
That's what to remember. It's like
well, Phil Kessel's an Art Ross 30th, candidate. Right? That's worth it.
It's like a late first. Right?
It'll be a late first, yeah. I mean,
for example, the Leafs trade,
mid-20 pick.
They gave up what
which trade? They gave away their second.
They gave up their own second.
Yeah, but they gave up. But that's going to be the higher of the 2 picks.
Exactly. Yeah.
So late second,
which is a
round
weird
pick.
shift.
No, they give up their own second.
Yeah, but no. Yeah. Usually you'd think that. I mean, based on the past,
the Sharks would have had a higher pick.
Yeah,
no,
but
time,
keeping the Leafs
have a later
second was a good move. I mean,
for Plekanec.
Yeah, we'll get to that. Hold on.
Okay,
we'll get to that.
I don't want to.
We'll get to that. But let's just talk about this Hartman thing. Like, I just see this guy who's a fourth liner. He played last night. Fitting, he scored the game-winning goal for them last night. And that
what did Hainsey go for last year?
Hainsey?
So second?
Second, I think.
It must have been because they had their first. That's what they got Reeves for. So.
Yeah, I think it was a second rounder. But Hartman scored the game-winning goal last night. But only played 13 minutes. It's like that could have been just the fact that he's coming in, doesn't know the system, and they're just trying to get his feet wet. Could be it, sure. But for a guy who's only going to play 13 minutes, you're giving a first-round pick, a fourth-round pick, and a prospect?
The Predators are so stacked. Where else do they need to add other than Ryan Hartman? I don't know. It's like.
But here's the difference, Pat. Here's the difference.
He's a perfect playoff guy with playoff experience. They just made a deep run. They're going to make a deep run this year. They're going to make a deep run for the next 2 or 3 years, probably. Their defensive core. You need a guy like Hartman. The Blackhawks didn't win without Hartman.
Look, I understand that he's a good player and they need a guy like him, but here's the thing that...
What do they need picks for?
But here's the thing that you're just
nothing to
here's what you're not considering.
No, I understand there's a future, but...
There's a market value. Why do you have to pay above market value for a guy? That's the point. I don't have an issue with them going out and getting Ryan Hartman. I have the issue of them overpaying considerably to get this guy. That's my issue.
You know what you
he's
just
a great
did?
Player, and he's going to be really good. What did I do?
You criticized George McPhee and Poyle, who are 2 of the best GMs in the league right now, on 2 of their moves. So I'm not saying they're impenetrable.
Yes, but George McPhee,
they are good at
great
what they
GM.
do.
He also traded Philip Forsberg for Martin Erat.
Yes,
that's a good point.
Like, they're not.
Everybody makes bad deals.
And a pick.
No.
A second, I think.
There was
a pick involved.
Regardless, it could have been.
Everyone makes bad deals. We get that.
I'm just saying, most of their moves have been pretty good. Just wait and see how it pans out. Who knows? Who knows how things go? Look at the Oilers.
What about them?
Look at them.
Where in particular?
You're right. Yeah, they give up a whole bunch of first rounders. Or I guess you want to look at it that way. Just because you're a first rounder doesn't mean you're going to be good. Look at the Oilers.
Statistically, it does. In the first round, you get pretty good players.
I just think those 2 trades were astronomically bad and lopsided, in my opinion. One of the other trades, though, that I really liked and that I thought was a pretty good deal for both teams, Paul Stastny to Winnipeg. Winnipeg needed to solidify down the middle, and I think they did that with Stastny.
I think that was probably one of my favorite deals of the day, just because. Winnipeg's such a good team. I mean, they have great defense, and now their center depth of Scheifele, Little, and you throw Stastny into that fold with, Kopp on the fourth line. They're a very solid team.
I think Hellebuck and who's their backup?
Starter.
Hellebuck's their starter, and then they got Steve Mason as their backup.
Right?
Yeah.
But
Steve Mason,
Hellebuck has been good, but
they're paying $4.1 million to Hellebuck, making barely anything.
But, I mean, it's going to be, I think, the interesting thing for this team moving forward is can Hellebuck stay up with the pace that he put up before the All-Star break when he was fantastic? I mean, it was 6-5 last night, their game?
Yeah. That was a bit of a rough game, but, I mean, you're playing the best of the best.
Exactly, and you can't pin one game on what is a season of spectacular play so far. But, no, I like this move a lot, and I think Winnipeg is going on a very long playoff run.
I agree, and I really, really am looking forward to seeing that Predators Winnipeg series in the semifinals of the Western Conference playoffs. A couple of things to note here. Paul Stastny he ended up going for a first, Eric Foley in a conditional fourth. So
I think it was a conditional first too.
Yes, the conditional first was the only condition on first is that Winnipeg, if it's a lottery pick for Winnipeg, so if it's like a first, second, or third overall pick, then they don't get the pick this year and they get it next year. The odds of them winning the lottery, any of those lottery spots, pretty slim to none. So it's an almost solidified first rounder. Eric Foley, though, I didn't know much about him, not going to lie. I knew that he played for the U.S. or the World Juniors, but then I went and I read up on a little bit about him. So a couple of guys from The Athletic who are scouts, at least for prospects, Corey Pronman, he says he thinks that he's an NHLer, but Scott Wheeler thinks that he's a good middle-of-the-lineup guy with top 6 potential. He ranks him second in the Jets' deep prospect pool, which is not too shabby when you think about it. And he's a point-per-game player at Providence College in the NCAA. But the note on Foley also is if he doesn't end up signing with St. Louis, and this is the condition on the 4th, then they get the 4th. If he signs, then it's only a first in Foley, and then the 4th stays in Winnipeg.
That's interesting, yeah. I don't know a lot about him. I'm
going to be honest, I've never even heard of this guy. I'm sorry. I can't be prepared today.
That's what I was saying. Like, I never heard of him either until yesterday.
Good? Who is this guy? Foley?
Well, that's what I'm like.
St. Louis prospect?
Yeah, he was a St. Louis prospect, or he was a Winnipeg Jets prospect.
Oh, he's a Jets prospect.
Oh, who had a pretty good prospect pool.
Yeah, you know what?
And he was ranked second in their prospect pool by Scott Wheeler, who I appreciate his
more about
knowledge of hockey, and I'll take it and think that he.
It's more about them planning ahead to just be like, we're not signing Stastny again.
Could
be.
What
it is. I don't know. You get decent prospect back. It's just the same situation as like when you trade Kessel. It's like, we get a not the same situation, but you get a prospect back. Hope for the best. Hopefully fit in somewhere.
As for St. Louis, though, well, what kind of message does this send? Like, they're only a point or two outside of the playoffs.
Losers. No.
They're trading away a pretty decent player.
Well, I mean, it's kind of like last year. They traded Shattenkirk at the deadline.
Yeah.
I think it. I really think that, what was it, 3 years ago on their playoff run when they decided to keep. Who are their UFAs? I'm blanking on the name. Boston signed with it. Backus. I think they kept Backus to go on all in for a Stanley Cup run, and it didn't happen. So the last 2 years at the deadline, they've been trading people that have their contracts expiring. It is odd because they're 2 points out of a playoff spot, and you see that. But the message to the players, Braden Shen came out yesterday, said he couldn't believe it, that it was crazy.
They're trending down, right? Like they've been losing.
Yeah.
Since December.
Well, I read an article by Pierre LeBrun in The Athletic, and he said that when he spoke to both these GMs, and I guess what happened was it was Cheveldayoff was speaking to, who's it, Doug Armstrong?
Yeah.
Yeah, so he spoke to Doug Armstrong, and Armstrong said, hey, if we keep losing the way we're losing over the next week, Paul Stastny might be available. And that's kind of when the dialogue started, and then yesterday I guess they were just chatting, and they had to make sure that Stastny had his no trade clause waived. He decided to waive to go to Winnipeg, something that Mike Hoffman decided not to do for some reason. Just throwing that out there.
When was that? They had a deal?
Apparently there was interest in Mike Hoffman for the Winnipeg Jets, but Hoffman didn't want to waive to go to...
How many years left does Hoffman have?
I think he's got a few years left on his contract. 3 years maybe.
Not to bash the city of Winnipeg, but I mean Stastny's he's a UFA next summer.
That's the thing, yeah.
So
he's only there for a couple of months, and if he likes it there, and
exactly.
This is a good team. This is a team that I think for the next few years are going to be contenders. So he can re-sign. Oh yeah.
And I mean, why not roll the dice right now? As you guys said, St. Louis is trending down. Winnipeg's one of the best teams in the NHL. So
how about Blake Wheeler? Eh?
He's so good.
He's unreal.
Big fan of him.
He's having a.
He's also a great captain. Like just the way he speaks to the media and
definitely.
stuff.
I remember he was rumored.
Same answers as everyone else.
Back in the day, he was rumored to be one of the pieces coming back to Toronto on a potential Caberlet deal.
Ooh.
Imagine if that happened.
Thank God we didn't pull the trigger on that.
But
I mean,
they got Joe Colburn.
Joey Cole. Former first-round pick.
Yeah, sure is. It's funny. There's a lot going on here. A lot of trades to dissect, and
let's dissect the biggest, juiciest one that's left.
Patrick Maroon for a third-round pick.
I like it.
Well, we didn't really discuss the Brassard trade yet.
I like it.
That was a decent one.
Yeah, I thought
that was a confusing trade.
It was, and it got rejected once by the NHL.
Yeah, I've never seen that happen before. At least I've never seen it go public before.
Yeah,
it was so confusing. It was a three-way deal involving Vegas, Ottawa, And Pittsburgh, Brassard, they essentially was just going to, for some reason, take on, I think it was, 40% of Brassard's contract or 25% of Brassard's contract?
I can't remember what
it was a good portion of the contract, which is a couple of years long. So they're just retaining that, and in return they got Ryan Reeves, who you mentioned went for a first-round pick a year ago for some reason, and a fourth to do that. Ottawa, I like what Ottawa got in that deal, actually.
No, I like it too. The goalie prospect is, as far as goalie prospects can go, is pretty highly regarded.
Yeah.
You know, you got a first-round pick, third-round pick. It's a great deal for really everyone involved. I'd say. I mean, Vegas.
Well, isn't that nice, right? Everyone gets win. No, I don't like it at all. I just don't know what Ottawa's doing.
Well, they got to get out from under money, and I think
they're done.
Who cares what they got back? The team's in shambles. Like, the ownership hates the team hates the ownership, the fans hate the ownership.
Yeah, something's got to
give
there.
You see they're taking the signs away of people who are
I saw it on Twitter. I didn't know if that actually happened, but...
That's what I saw. It was reported that people criticizing Melnick, like signs that said, "Get out, Melnick," were being escorted out by security.
Something's got to happen there. I don't know when, but, like... He
doesn't want to sell the team.
I hear Seattle wants a team.
You know what I think happened?
Yeah, so does Dallas or Houston.
Dallas?
This is my
Houston.
The hottest take of the day for me.
Same state.
When Ottawa went out and got all those rental players last year, and everyone was like, they're not going to make...
Alex Burrows trades.
Yeah, the Burrows.
On waivers.
They're not going to make a deep run, and they did. And then they're like, hey, this is a pretty good team. And then they made those players their core, and it didn't work this year. Those are guys you add at the end. They should have, I don't know, they should have like refreshed the next season. Cleaned house. Started with your core of Carlson, Hoffman, Stone. Probably shouldn't have traded Turris in hindsight or gone to Sweden.
That deal was not... That deal was really strange, as is. They gave up so much for Matt Duchene.
Sure.
And,
derailed them.
I can understand overpaying if Duchene was locked up. Like, you're paying for, a year and a half of Matt Duchene?
Yeah. Almost 2 years, I guess.
That's a good point, but you're by no means trading for a sure thing.
No.
And the way the last couple of months have transpired, I would be shocked beyond belief if Matt Duchene is an Ottawa Senator at the end of that contract.
Well, it's funny because the reason why he elected to go to Ottawa and he was stoked about it was because he didn't want to go through another rebuild in Colorado. Well, Colorado's going for a playoff spot.
Cursed.
Ottawa's heading for a rebuild. Like it's happening.
That poor guy, oh man.
Since
Colorado was his childhood team. Too.
Since we're on the topic, let's go ahead and let's grade the trade deadline for all 7 Canadian teams, and let's start with the Sens.
The Sens, okay. I gave the Sens a B. My personal opinion, and once again, we can only speculate because we're not in the rooms. We don't know the names that were being thrown around, and with talking about Erik Karlsson for that example, just you don't know what they were being offered, and you're not going to trade a franchise player unless the deal is on the table. But I got to think that a year and a half of Erik Karlsson, 2 playoff runs, the highest price for that kind of asset is right now, not at the draft in June. So that, I think that they should have pulled the trigger on him. From what I've been led to understand, Tampa Bay, their conversations, it pretty much came down to Sergachev, and Yzerman wasn't willing to do so. But looking at the Brassard trade, I thought they did very well considering because all teams kind of knew that Ottawa needed to go on a fire sale and get rid of their big money. So they're kind of held over a barrel in that regard. But with all things being what they were, I think they still got a pretty good haul for him, first-round pick and a good prospect. So I think B kind of is the middle ground between the disappointment of not dealing Karlsson, but a good return for Brassard.
Yeah, I also actually I give him a B+. I thought that they had a good start to the rebuild. I thought that the return they got for Brassard was nice. I thought flipping Ian Cole again was a good idea to get another third-round pick. I think Gustafsson immediately becomes their top goalie prospect, and with Craig Anderson reaching, 37 years old?
Yeah. And having a very down year.
Yeah, and Mike Condon is their backup. Like, is Mike Condon going to be
He'll
your
never be
starter?
more than a backup.
No, exactly. So getting a decent goaltending prospect who could turn out to be a starter, I think, was clutch for them. And I thought that they didn't have to trade Karlsson. And I think that there'll be more suitors will open up at the draft, and I think that's a better time for that to happen.
But I don't disagree with you. I think that...
But I mean, more suitors might bid up the process.
And it might, but I think that, for just to go back to the Tampa Bay example, because it was rumored that they were deep in the hunt, and Vegas as well, you got to think, pitching to that other general manager trying to get Karlsson, like, you're so close right now to a playoff run. Imagine having Karlsson twice. So the emotions, attached to that vision of, all right, if I pull the trigger on our best prospect, that means we get Erik Karlsson, which quite honestly could lead to a Stanley Cup. I just think that it's such an appealing thing to add right before a playoff run. So that's why I think that the prices are at a premium right now for him, but you might be right as well. You never know what happens on the draft floor. Things can get going very quickly. Look at the Phil Kessel deal. That was rumored to be dead in the water, and then...
I mean, you could look at Tampa and you say that Sergachev was a no-no now, but he may be available when the season's over at the draft floor.
I mean, yeah, who knows?
Point. Like these guys who are really, they're doing a good job in Tampa and are really cornerstone pieces of the franchise, and they're playing exceptionally well this season. They just don't want to have to replace those.
Yep.
And I think they may feel more inclined that they can replace those over a full off season as opposed to replacing it then. And I think that could be a reason why.
That's a...
So other prospects or like young, talented players will be more available, I think. And I think that's just my theory, and that's why I think waiting until the off season would maybe be a better situation for him.
And just to go off what you're saying, you wonder what the potential package was for Vegas, because you're talking about taking a player off a successful team right now. I think Vegas would be the most apprehensive about kind of messing with the formula. So
if they're giving up a first, a second for Tatar, you
exactly,
just imagine what they're willing to give up for Karlsson.
I'll give the Sens a B-.
Fair enough. Let's go with the Leafs. What do you guys think of the Leafs?
I'll let Stothers go first on that one.
Thank you for letting me speak. Guess went on for like 15 minutes there. The Leafs, I'll give them a B. I don't know. Buchanan's, when I saw that trade, I was like, him? That was my first reaction. Not, I don't know, based on, I guess, fandom. But, like, he's been a lifetime Montreal Canadian. It's weird to see him without a goatee.
Yeah.
A Maple Leaf sweater. It's strange. He's a good player. Good defensive guy. Speedy. Apparently he's not racking up points, but apparently he's also playing a lot of penalty kill and tough minutes.
Yeah.
I like him. Veteran. Why not?
Yeah.
Good ad. Not like, doesn't like blow me away. It's not like getting McDonough, obviously. So, yeah. You know what? If I gave the Sens a B-, I'll give the Leafs a B-.
B or B-? You said a B. You said a B before.
I give him a B. Sure.
I gave him a B too. I think kind of the same thing.
Buchanan,
he's not a needle mover, but I think that he's a really good addition.
Mediocre.
And they definitely need an upgrade over Dominic Moore in the fourth line if they want to compete. And I don't know if they did as much as they needed to do. I would have liked them to get them a right-handed defenseman as well, or at least some depth of some sort on the defensive side of the ice. But I'll still give them a B. What about you?
I also had a B, so we're
wow. We are an entertaining group of people here.
It fills out
pretty
the fourth.
Mediocre. No,
and they gave up nothing to get
I mean, Reichel and Valiev
second.
were never going to play for the Leafs. No, not an indictment against them as players. Valiev's had a very good year. Kirby Reichel is, I think he could land on a fourth line somewhere. He's big, can play physical, but can also put the puck in the net. But they were just never going to crack the Leafs roster. And Plekanec gives them fourth line center, who I agree better than Moore. And quite honestly has upside. I mean, he can still pass. He doesn't put up the points that he used to, but you can really slot him anywhere in the Leafs lineup depending on game script. Good penalty killer. So it's not an amazing move, but I think it's one that's definitely going to help on their playoff run.
I find it so underwhelming sometimes when you get picks and prospects back. Like these trade deadline deals, most of the time you get them back, it's like, oh, great. I'll see you in like 3 years if that guy matters. But usually it's low risk. Like you say, fourth liner, like might see some time on a different team, but doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things. You can't give up too many, right? You don't want to do death by 1,000 cuts, but for the most part, you're gone. Playoff run.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about the team that traded away Thomas Plekanec, the Habs. How did they do?
I gave them a C.
Why are we talking about the Habs? What have they done to earn us talking about them? Us prestigious people.
Well, they actually sold off some players, which I was surprised that they did. They made 3 moves this deadline, which is more than I saw coming, considering that.
Did they get a center?
They don't need to get a center. They need to sell, and that's what they did. I liked what they did. I gave them a B. Why'd you give them a C?
Because honestly, I think that it's more what they didn't do. I think that...
Exactly.
Quite honestly, the team, it's... from at the outside looking in, it looks like a pretty toxic dressing room right now. You have bars doing promotions to celebrate Max Pacioretty leaving. He's getting booed on the ice.
Pacioretty's still there.
And that's what I mean. I think that you really have to pull the cord eventually, and Bergevin looks like he's clinging to scraps, trying to go with the miracle thing to turn this around. But I hope
it's not like him trying to save his job, right?
I think it has to be. I just don't think it's it's not even that I don't think. It really doesn't look like it's in the cards for this team. They're going to have to do something. Drouin has not worked out at all.
Wow.
Shea Weber's on the IR. They're paying him for the next 6 years.
That was a bad trade.
Subban.
Well, so the Habs, they picked up a second, a fourth, Valiev, Reichel, and Mike Riley. And they gave up Yerbeck, Plekanec, Bond, Joe Morrow, and a fifth.
I'll give him a D. Just because, what a nothing deadline, I feel like. Yeah, they're pieces, but you have so many things you could do. And, those
what would you
minor trade.
Other than Pacioretty, though. Other than Pacioretty, what else could they have done?
You know what that is? That's the Montreal Canadiens fans going, we need something. We want blood. And he goes, here's a trade. Here's a little something to feed you, tide you over. That's what that trade is. He's not fixing the team. He's not making it go up. He's not making it go down. He's just doing a little tweak to a team that needs more than a tweak.
That's what it needed.
What do you mean that's what it needed? They
need more
needed
than
a big...
that.
What are you going to
do?
They're
good now? Are they in the playoffs now?
Besides trading Pacioretty, what could they have done?
You can't just
Do they have any pieces that could have made this team better?
No, but...
I can't think of a theoretical trade off the top of my head, but they could have improved on defense. They could have gotten a center to help with their wingers, because Drouin's obviously not working at center.
Okay, but what are you going to give up?
They could have done something with Galchenyuk. Galchenyuk is a piece that's around.
But here's the thing. These guys, Galchenyuk and Pacioretty, for them not moving them, I credit Bergevin. Dude, they have...
It's the elephant in the room.
They have no trade value right now. And why are you giving up... why are you selling low? Why are you sell low?
You
Why
think
don't
the
you
price
wait till
is
the end of the
magically...
year?
The price is going nowhere but down. That's the argument for Galchenyuk over the last 3 years.
Oh, man.
3 years ago, imagine they traded for him, it would be a guarantee that they got a first-round pick. And now Galchenyuk's going to end up being tossed for spare parts because they waited for the price to go up, and they bet wrong on everything, it seems like.
Remember when Galchenyuk was the best player in that draft?
Yep.
At one point?
Morgan Riley, 6th overall? 5th overall?
5th, I think.
Brian Burke is a visionary.
I also like the fact that they brought in Mike Riley on the defense. He's not going to do much. He's not a cornerstone piece, well, he's a pretty young guy. He's 25 years old. He was a highly sought after college free agent a few years ago, and giving up a 5th round pick to bring him in and say, all right, let's see if he can end up living up to his hype. Why not? He's still young enough. He can turn that corner, much like a Justin Schultz. Remember how that Justin Schultz trade looked out 2 months later? Not saying that's going to happen. They're not going to go ahead and win a cup, but it's a low risk situation. You give a 5th round pick for a defenseman who could be a top 4 guy in the next couple of years. What's wrong with that? They gave up nothing, and they picked up a 2nd, a 4th, a 5th, and Mike Riley. I guess they picked up Valiev and Reichel, who probably won't amount to anything, but I like what they got by giving away nothing.
Well, I'm lowering my earlier rating from a D to a D-.
Fair enough. All right, let's go ahead and head out west.
Appreciate your research, though.
Let's head out west, and let's talk about the Winnipeg Jets.
We're going to talk about...
We'll get there, Stothers.
The Flames, right?
We'll get there.
Oh, okay. The Jets, looking good. I don't know, but not much to say. Their deadline is... They got Stasny, so I like it. Addition. They're a good team already.
What's the grade?
Oh, what's their grade?
We need a grade.
A J for Jets.
That's worse than the Habs.
No, they're an A+. I don't know. They didn't. I'm not giving them a high grade because they didn't pull some crazy magic at the deadline.
I gave them an A.
They just.
Yeah, I give him an A.
They just.
What are you looking for over here?
I don't know, man.
Are you looking for something to land like Tavares
Maybe
over here?
Maybe
Like,
it's something inside
what
me.
could they? What else could they have done? What would have made
right.
you happy enough to give them an A?
minus.
I gave him an A minus too.
I gave them an A.
I mean, they gave up a lot, but like they had a deep prospect pool and they can afford it, and they really solidified this team down the middle.
Oh, I
They have a
agree.
deep
Yeah,
pool.
I really like the move.
Yeah.
That's a quick one. That one's easy.
All right,
A's across the board.
let's keep going
And a
west. Let's get to the Flames.
I'll start with the Flames. Yeah,
Fighting
they
for
really
a
didn't
playoff
do
spot?
much. I mean, I gave them a B minus
For what?
just because they got Chris Stewart and they didn't do something stupid. Now, I mean, you can't really grade teams that don't do anything at the deadline.
Sure you can.
I think the fact that they didn't do something stupid and give up too early on a Sam Bennett or someone, I think that, I mean, in my mind, I mean, they did nothing to disappoint me. They did nothing to impress me.
But 2 years ago, but now Sam Bennett's approaching like that Alex Galchenyuk situation. Are they going to wait too long where Galchenyuk's where he's worth nothing?
I like
Or like
Bennett.
the Nail Yakupov type situation? Like, could have given him up and got like a Matt Pacioretty, a guy who's proven in the NHL. They need a scoring winger. They're in a playoff position with about 4 or 5 teams, and they added nothing.
Here's
Everyone
what I
around
think.
them added teams.
On that point, I think they're a team that can go one of two ways. They can be really good, like they were on that streak after Gulletson threw his stick. They have a solid defense core. Mike Smith, when he's on fire, is really good.
And healthy, been injured.
Goudreau, that top line with Ferland and Goudreau and Monahan is fire. But, like you say, they did not add anything to assist them in going the way they want to go.
Exactly.
Which means they're probably going to go the other way.
Exactly. I gave them a D. I thought
That's
they
what
were,
I think. I just think
I personally
they're either
think
going
the
to go up
Flames
or they're going to go
were
down,
the
and
worst
because they
team
didn't
at
have
that
it,
point.
I don't know.
Well,
I'll give them a C+.
I'm
because
going
I
to
like that
commend
pick.
them for not making what I think would have been a knee-jerk reaction.
But this is a team who's fighting for a playoff spot, and by not adding anything, well, everyone else is, now they're going to fall out of the playoffs?
Or they might continue playing steady hockey.
Yeah, but they could have added, like, even if they added,
might.
like, a Maroon or a Vanek.
You think Edmonton and Calgary are going to make a trade?
Okay, Vanek.
Just like everyone else added, and they
But,
didn't.
like, what? Yeah, Vanek, he used to be a good goal scorer, but, like...
Vanek's got 41 points.
Yeah, great.
He plays on the right
And
side,
what is-
which Calgary has nobody playing on the
Yeah,
right side right now.
And his legacy is being someone who goes at the deadline and disappoints the team that trades for him.
He got nothing for Vanek, so you could have at least given a flyer, give up a 6th-round pick to get Vanek.
No, Jim Benning doesn't take draft picks, so that would never have happened.
Apparently he was asking, they were just
Alright.
never offered.
Well, the Flames are a C for Calgary. That's what I'll say.
Giving them a hard D. They did nothing. They did
Careful
nothing.
there, Mike.
They did nothing, and they're going to flame out and not
Should
make
we
the
make a little
playoffs.
bet right now? Did the Calgary Flames make the playoffs?
No,
Oh, so your words mean nothing.
not making the playoffs.
Oh, they will make the playoffs.
Okay, we'll see.
Let me
We'll
just
play
fire
this
up the
back.
standings here.
We'll play this back. I think they might be in the 8th spot, if not the 9th spot right now.
They will win. Let's make a little bet right now.
Okay.
I didn't receive my certificate yet.
And Stothers didn't graduate.
What are we betting here? What are we betting?
Stothers, what should we bet?
On what? Sorry?
Whether
Whether or
Calgary
not
makes
Calgary
the
makes
playoffs.
Do 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 do
I'll
do
bet.
do.
Okay, how about this? If Calgary makes the playoffs,
You buy me a pitcher of beer.
you have to invite me back on this podcast.
Oh, it's pretty steep.
Pitcher of beer.
Pitcher of beer.
Winner
Well,
You're not agreeing
buys
to that.
a pitcher of beer.
Fine.
All right.
absolutely.
I'm not
All
in
right.
this bet.
I look forward to you buying me beer 2 months from now.
Ditto.
All right. Let's talk about the Oilers. They didn't do anything significant.
They got rid of Patrick Maroon.
They got rid of Maroon, which they had to do. They also got rid of Mark Letestu. So they got rid of the 2 guys that they had to, and they didn't do anything drastic. But they got some decent guys back. Pontus Aberg. We'll see what he's got in him. He's a speedy winger. Has
That's what they
goal-scoring
need,
touch.
speedy wingers.
That's what Chiarelli says.
Oh.
Picked up a 3rd and another prospect, J.D. Dudek or
On
something.
an
rather.
unrelated note,
And another third for Davidson. So.
Taylor Hall has points in 20 consecutive games now?
Oh, he's doing well.
Patrick
Adam
Maroon's
Larson
on his team
Woo!
now.
Yeah.
And Lucic.
But
hasn't
sorry,
had
back
a
to the
primary
Oilers'
assist
lack
since,
of wing depth.
I gave him a B.
Lucic hasn't had a primary assist since before Christmas.
Really?
He's got like 4 secondary assists.
Damn, that's a stat. Look at you pulling out stats.
Yeah,
Stothers?
Follow his Twitter. It's like the most. It's essentially fun facts that make the Oilers look like idiots.
It's really easy too. Like I don't have to try.
What are you giving the Oilers? Although I already know it.
I'll give him a F. They
Fair.
should be in the playoffs.
They should be. I don't understand what happened to this team between last year
They
and
failed
this year, but
they failed.
they did fail. And they deserve an F on the season.
I have no sympathy for them.
I'll give them a B on the deadline, though. Pat.
I have a C+ here. I'd consider
Pretty
maybe
optimistic.
moving that to a B-. I mean, they didn't getting Maroon out. If you ask me, when Nash went and seeing what he got, I thought that maybe you could get more than a third. But quite honestly, I think a third is fair. I mean, Maroon is what he is. He put up 30 goals,
I
but
think they gave up. They only paid a fourth to get him 2 years ago. So
They are
plus them.
handcuffed by Milan Lucic. What do you guys think of Chris Russell?
And Draisaitl.
And Draisaitl is good at least.
they're
Yeah.
What do
paying
you think
him
of Chris Russell?
so
'Cause
much.
I watched Chris Russell. He makes $4 million for 4 years. He has a no trade.
That's how long he signed for?
Yeah, 4 years. No trade in the last 2 years. He can't be traded. No movement clause.
I think it's 4.5.
Yeah, so
Wow.
he blocks shots a lot.
That's because he gives the puck up a lot and needs to block shots.
He's good at blocking shots.
No, sorry, it's 4 flat. You're right.
I just feel like in today's NHL, that's a thing that is on its way out. You know what I mean? Like, there's times when blocking shots is good, but most of the time, if you had just gotten out of the way and let the goalie see the puck, he can make an easy save. Or you're going to get injured, and then you're hurt, or you're playing hurt, and you're never at 100%, and you're just not helping the team. So after 4 years of blocking that many shots, you're handcuffed. He's already handcuffed. He's not that great of a skater. I don't know. And so they've handcuffed themselves at several different points at their roster.
Yeah.
Their cap
Maroon,
is so
they had
bad.
to move, but
Yeah.
like just poor,
No, I agree. They're going
poor
to be.
asset management.
It is poor asset management, and it's going to be interesting to follow along and see how they're able to get themselves out of this mess. They have a generational franchise talent like
So
Connor
sad.
McDavid, and if they waste
Poor
that,
guy.
like that's going to be terrible for him
Imagine
and
he
for the
requests a
Oilers.
trade to Toronto. Play for his hometown team.
I don't know if that happens.
Could you imagine
That's,
that?
Like, you're paying McDavid and Draisaitl over $20 million for the two of them.
And they're on a line.
Andre
they can't
Sekera
produce unless
and Chris Russell are making $10 million combined. Like, it's just...
yeah.
It's like 40% of the cap in those 4 players alone.
And
There's-
Talbot
okay, so
has...
we've been crapping on the Oilers all year. What is the answer? Like, how do you make that better?
I think they
You
just
can't.
made mistakes
What
that
do you do? No. Nothing?
They made mistakes that aren't correctable. Like I would not see anybody going out and trading for Lucic. I
No.
don't see anybody going out and trading for Russell. Like these are 2 caps. Even Sekera, like he's okay,
Larson,
but I don't know if he's
left
worth
bomb.
like $5.5 million. I don't know if these guys
Nuge would be the only piece.
are worth going out and get for the cap. Like
They have to tank again. They have to blow it up.
how are they going to blow it up? They got nothing to move.
Trade everyone until they're crap and get high draft picks like the Oilers always do.
I don't know.
That's their only option.
They're going to be in a funk. It'll be
10
interesting
more
to
years.
see what Chiarelli does going forward. If he can get himself and the Oilers out of this rut.
They have
I kinda
four
love watching.
over the next
We got to move on.
4 years. They have $42 million
Eric.
tied up in 5 players.
That's unreal. That's that's literally like 60% of the cap. 55. Cap's what, like 75 million, 73 million?
42 million on 5 players.
Imagine you cheered for this team your entire life, and, they
And those
finally
5
got
players
McDavid.
After
finally got
McDavid and
McDavid.
Draisaitl are Lucic, Nugent-Hopkins,
Man.
Sekera, and Russell.
Gross.
And you're gonna have to pay
Gross.
Cam Talbot a lot of money.
I don't want to talk about this
Talbot.
anymore. I can't.
Oh, man.
I can't talk about the Oilers anymore.
Okay, maybe they'll bounce
And if they
back
get
next year.
Darlene, that's just
That's why
unreal.
I'm happy that they're winning now because like they're not gonna make the playoffs, but I can't see the Oilers draft first overall again. Like I literally I will not watch it.
See what Jeff O'Neill said? If they get Carlson, he just wants to see.
Carlson or Dallin?
Yeah, like Carlson goes to Edmonton just to see like McDavid and Carlson be on a team.
That'd be unreal.
Bad. Like,
Wow.
See if it can still happen. Test the limits.
They could probably just have those two on the ice by themselves and probably win games.
If they could magically buy out Sekera and Russell, they could.
Let's move on to the Canucks. Last team here for the Canadians. They made 2 deals. They brought in Brandon Leipzig for Philip Holm. Kind of a meh deal, but
Give him a Z.
That's fair.
Give them a C.
I'm giving them a D+, because giving up Vanek for Tyler Mott and UC Jokinen was a very backwards move, in my opinion. Like, I know they had to get rid of him. How do you not get at least a draft pick? Knowing what's been kicked around over the past, like, he's got 17 goals, 41 points. Like, this is a guy who's probably going to have a 25 goal a year, pretty close to it. How is he not worth at least a 3rd-round pick?
I have no idea.
Like, I don't understand. I get that he's a guy who flames out in the playoffs, and that's what people think about him. But like, you gotta think that it's worth something. Tyler Mott was a good college player, has struggled moving into the NHL, but he had I think 56 points in like 38 games his final year in college. So hasn't been able to bring it to the pro level, but I just don't like what they did, really. They didn't do anything, in my opinion. They also signed Goodbranson to an extension for some reason. So I give them a D+ on what they did this month.
Yeah, I have them here for a C. I agree with you on the Vanek thing. This time last year, I thought they did really well. They were one of the better teams with how they...
definitely.
And then, for some reason, I just can't get over the fact they don't get a draft pick for Vanek.
Are the Sedin's coming back?
I think so. A 1-year deal, maybe, but they're having a really good season, actually. Like, strangely good season. I think Sedin's like 5th in goal scoring in the past month or so. Like,
getting Horvat
weird.
Injured hurt them big time.
They had big injuries, man. Like,
they
Sutter got hurt, Horvat got hurt. They've had a lot of injuries. Tana's been out for a long time. Edler was out for a little bit. They went through a lot of injuries, but they're not a very good team.
But Brock Besser was a nice surprise. Bo Horvat honestly has been a nice surprise.
Maybe a surprise for you. Love that guy. He is a goal scorer.
Is a surprise. Let's be honest here. He may have been good in the juniors, but no one saw him.
Didn't even play in the juniors.
No one saw him doing what he's doing in college.
He was, actually.
No one saw him doing what he's doing in the NHL
you didn't
until
see him
this
doing
year.
It. You didn't
tell
see
me
him doing
you knew Brock Besser was going to be as good as Austin Matthews.
I did, because
career.
he's not as good as Austin Matthews.
He was on pace for goal scoring with Austin Matthews for a long time. Don't tell me you saw him doing that. He was a nice surprise. That's all I'll be happy with.
Did I expect him to be a 40-goal scorer his first season? No. He's not going to be.
Essentially what you're saying.
But I saw him scoring 25, 30 goals. 25.
Humbug.
Anyways, what are you giving him? Letter grade.
C for Canucks.
Okay. Wow, I was the harshest one.
Do you think we got harder on the teams as we went west?
Yeah.
Are they just worse deals?
No, because the Jets, we all gave A's.
That's right.
Overall, I think the Jets won the deadline for all Canadian teams.
Because they got basically yeah, they did. They got the best part, I think.
Overall, though, who would you say were the winners of the deadline? Start with you, Patrick Allen.
I really like the Jets, as I said.
The lesser of two Pats to start.
I thought Pittsburgh did well, too. Yeah, I mean, and New York, I mean, they said they were going to rebuild, and I thought they did a very good job of building up assets. So, New York, Winnipeg, and Pittsburgh.
Thought Edmonton won because they're going to get closer to Dallin, so.
It was discussed that they're winning right now and they're going up.
Edmonton?
Yeah.
Oh, winning?
They've been doing all right.
No, but realistically, Tampa won. They're stacked on defense.
Yeah.
Sergachev, Strawman, Hedman, McDonough. Girardi's been good.
Yeah.
Bounced back. They're stacked.
Yeah. They did really, really solidify that team.
Start to finish.
I really like what Tampa did.
Unless they get like a bad injury before the playoffs, that'd be the only
Well,
thing.
do we know what Kucherov's status is?
No, I haven't heard anything actually.
I saw Bergeron in a boot too.
Bergeron's been to boot for the past week, but he keeps playing. I don't understand how that's happening.
He's
But
fine.
for me, I think I really, really like. I like what the sellers did more than I think what the buyers did. I really like what the Rangers were able to bring in.
It's always a seller's market, though, no? Like at the trade deadline?
No, I don't think so. Like, I look around and I see a whole bunch of teams, and I'm usually liking, like, oh, yes, this guy went out and got this guy. Like, that's going to be a huge, huge pickup. This guy went out and got this guy. That's going to be a huge pickup. And I'm usually in favor of the buyers, but I think this year more so was a seller's market because first-round picks were given out like candy. Like, draft picks were given out like candy, which we haven't seen in the past couple of years. So, I mean, for the Rangers to go out and get the haul that they did with the picks and prospects, I really like what they were able to do when they moved on from between Nash, McDonough, Miller, somebody else in there that they also got rid of, Nick Holden, Michael Grabner.
I forgot about
Like,
Grabner.
yeah, like they got a lot.
I also
They
wonder,
did a good job to really kickstart this rebuild in New York.
how many GMs or team organizations are using advanced analytics for prospects at this point? All of them?
I think everyone has to.
Yeah.
They'll have to be. There's a rhyme and a reason. So they all must know, like, the percentage of a third or a second-round pick drops off.
Oh,
Depending on
100%.
when
Yeah.
they pick. They all know these
It's
things.
like a third-round pick. It's like they have a 10% chance of panning out. Sure.
So, in theory, these are all educated guesses when they give these prospects away. And it's
Yeah,
like, it looks like they're
100%.
giving up a lot, but it's like the odds of it actually, I don't know. Maybe it's all calculated. And there's a lot of times where deals happen in the NHL, and I'm like, oh, I guess I have no idea how the NHL works.
Right, but then you could also look at it and then look at the Phil Kessel deal with Toronto. At
Yeah.
the time, they didn't know that they were giving up Tyler Seguin and Dougie Hamilton. In retrospect, you're not making that deal.
There's a lot of things wrong with that deal.
Well, if you don't make that trade, you don't eventually get Austin Matthews.
Okay, well,
good point.
you're not thinking that far in advance.
Or Nylander.
Literally, 2015, you wouldn't have said,
Or
nah,
Marner.
we shouldn't have made that deal. Before,
Well,
As
yeah,
I
in
said earlier,
2015,
Brian
but
Burke is
looking
a
back
visionary.
now, it
whatever,
wouldn't
you look
change
at
a
that
thing.
deal. You look at that deal alone,
Brian Burke
and
said
or
we're
the
getting
Martin Erat
Matthews.
trade. Look at the Martin Erat trade. They gave up Philip Forsberg, a
That one
prospect,
right
and a
away
second-round
you
pick.
knew. Right away, just based on the name Forsberg, that was my thing.
I'm just saying, like, these guys, sure, their names,
I
they may
agree
not
with
live up
you.
to the expectations, but, like, it's still a worthy gamble. She didn't look at
That
me.
was awkward.
Someone just walked past the window, gave him a big old wave, didn't even look at me. Rude. All right, so who's somebody who lost? Who are the biggest losers on the day?
Edmonton, Eric.
Oh, Stothers. But for real, who do you think lost this one?
Montreal, honestly. What are you doing? Ottawa lost. What are you doing? No, I like that Ottawa didn't trade Carlson. I shouldn't say that. Because look at what happened with Eugene, like Colorado. You know, Colorado got a haul. By the time everyone was saying, oh, Sakic, you should have done something. Right? That's what all the Patrick Allens were saying back in the day.
Exactly.
They
Exactly.
get a good haul by waiting. I don't know. I'd say Montreal's a loser. Are we talking Canadian teams or
Any
in the
team.
league?
No, any team in the league.
Arizona Coyotes. Buffalo Sabres. What direction are you going?
Okay, I mean, like, like the trade deadline specifically.
Yeah, these
Not
are
in
all
the
teams.
league.
These are all teams that should be doing things at the deadline.
What would you like?
I don't know.
What is Arizona going to
Okay.
do?
Anyways.
I was surprised. One of my losers for
Haven't
the day,
even,
Dallas. I thought that I think they could have benefited by adding a forward. They didn't do so, so that was something. It didn't get talked about a lot, you know.
They didn't do anything at the
No,
deadline,
they
did
didn't.
The thing is, you have to convince the GM that you're making the playoff push, right? Like, Dallas is teetering. They're teetering. So are you going to make a big move to help them push, or are you just going to see what they do?
Well, you've got Jamie Benn and Tyler Seguin as your 1-2 centers. I
Ben
think
Bishop's your
Are they
goalie.
in win now mode? I don't know. Probably.
Definitely in
Yeah.
win now mode. Your goalie's 30, turning 31.
you got
pretty soon.
Radulov.
Sometimes the deal's just
Yeah,
like that.
Radulov.
So I was
I mean,
surprised
They don't
they
have the
didn't make a
the
move,
picks to give up.
solidify,
I mean,
get
they're
an
3 points in the playoffs right now.
But still, fortify that forward core. You have Devin Shore on your third line. If you trade for an Evander Kane, if it's going to cost you a second.
Or
maybe
Thomas
they didn't
Vanek.
have the picks to burn, right? Maybe people want picks back, and they didn't have the picks to burn, right?
Yeah, that's a possibility.
Who's when they got Spezza, didn't they just give up?
They didn't give up much for Spezza.
When they got Oduya and all those guys, didn't they give up a whole bunch of stuff? Recently?
Like a couple of years ago?
Yeah.
I don't think they gave up much,
So
and
maybe,
if so, those are long gone. Those drafts are long gone.
For
they
the next,
definitely have picks in the next few years.
For the next 2 years, they have a pick for every single round, with 2 picks in each of the next 2 fourth rounds.
Yeah, so they had picks to
it's
throw around if they need to bring in depth.
All their picks are theirs, too.
So, go ahead, because they moved Alexiak early in the year for Pittsburgh's pick.
Yeah.
Dallas, that's something that's a team that I didn't think about, actually. But, yeah, they probably should have, a team that's vying for a wild card spot and looking to really solidify themselves in the playoffs. They probably should have made a little bit of a push to improve a little bit. And I think that's why I see Calgary as a loser, because they were the same way. Didn't add anything. I really don't like that. So
irrelevance is losing.
But St. Louis Blues, I think, is a team who I really don't know what they were doing. Yeah. What was the point of St. Louis? Are they rebuilding? Is that what's going on? Were they selling for the future?
I think they're retooling on the fly.
Retooling on the fly, which they could do.
They're trying to get younger. That's why.
Jordan Kyrou, he's lighting up the O. He's doing really well. Robert Thomas, same thing, and then Robbie Fabry will be coming back next year with an injury, so they will get younger, and they'll get better. So and maybe that's what they're doing. They're just stockpiling some picks. Klim Kostin as well was a first-round pick theirs this year.
Yeah, they must have known that they must have not had a lot of faith in this team and know that Paul Stastny's not going to re-sign. So if they think that the better option would be to take the youth that you have, Braden Shen, they just got him. He's having a fantastic season, and grab a first-round pick, grab a third-round pick, and try to retool, and then when you're healthy next year, make another run at it.
I think their window closed, and they might as well rebuild. That's what I think.
It may have closed, but I think they got a nice, good, young talent coming through that could rejuvenate the team. We'll see. We'll see what happens in St. Louis. They're a team that I'm definitely going to be keep an eye on in the future in the next couple of years, but I honestly, I think Vegas lost the day.
Yeah.
I really don't like what Vegas did.
I love it. I'm giving them an A+++ now, just to.
You go ahead and do that, but
just to stick you guys.
I just giving up a first, a second, and a third-round pick.
It was a lot
for a middle six guy.
It doesn't make any sense.
I don't understand what they're doing there, and
do you think
why
power went to George McPhee's head?
I think they were in on Karlsson until
Perhaps.
literally the final minute. They got told no. He panicked and then overpaid for someone that he liked.
Yeah. That's exactly what I think. That's exactly what happened. He sat there and he had all these picks that he was willing to give for Karlsson, and he said no. So he was just okay, I'll just offer them over here to Detroit. And then obviously they said, yeah. And
let's hope that's
took off running.
We should hope he knows Tatar and Karlsson are not.
I don't think that was the exact deal that was in place, but I think they realized they're willing to part ways with first round
for sure.
with the picks.
Yeah.
So they know how rare an
opportunity
it is to be in their position this close to the playoffs.
I think it's similar to what happened in the Dallas and Chris Russell deal a couple of years ago, where Dallas had a deal in place for Dan Hamhuis for a second rounder, or a conditional second round pick and a prospect for Dan Hamhuis. And then Vancouver said, no, we want a first rounder, a firm first round pick. And they said, oh, no, we're not going to do that. And then they went and offered Chris Russell the exact same contract, or offered Calgary the exact same trade for Chris Russell. And the discrepancy between Russell and Dan Hamhuis at the time, Hamhuis is a clear-cut better player, but they just said, whatever, fine, we'll go give this exact same deal and still go and get a defenseman that we need. I think maybe something happened like that. They didn't get Karlsson. They said, fine, we still need to add something. Let's take some of these pieces and go and add to Detroit. And ended up overpaying a little bit. And I think not only the fact that they overpaid, but the fact that if this ends up actually hindering the team's chemistry, which it could definitely do. And that's something that a lot of teams sometimes don't like to make a move because the team's doing so well. You don't want to bring in somebody who may not know the system or may not mesh well with the group. And I think if that ends up being the circumstance over in Vegas, that is not going to look good a couple of years from now when they...
It's true, but they didn't really alter the group. Like, they didn't lose anybody.
They didn't lose anybody, no.
It hurt Ottawa because it's like we lost Turris, and we got this new guy who, like, has to learn the system, but we also lost Turris.
Yeah, but you gained a Matt Duchene.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, like, Vegas isn't, like, losing a guy they love. And, like,
okay.
No, but I mean, if they plan on putting
They're
this guy,
gaining.
if you're giving up a first, second, and third,
help.
this guy's going in the top 6.
Yeah.
Which means one of those guys in the top 6
That's what their whole team
are going to have to drop down.
Yeah.
And what if he doesn't mesh with the guys who he's playing with?
But, I mean, this team is made up of people that other teams quite literally gave up on. Watch Tatar just be the next...
Party. That's what I say.
Could be.
I mean, I don't think he will be.
Hey, man, I hope I eat my words 3 months from now and Tom Tatar is lifting up Lord Stanley's mug. Really do. I really do.
Captain?
Huh?
Does Vegas have a captain?
I don't think so. I don't think it's England.
They do have a captain.
Vegas has a captain?
Yeah.
Here, let me check it out here.
2 A's.
I think they just have 3 A's, yeah. Yeah, James Neal, Riley Smith, David Perron, and then Spiza and Egerlin. They have 5 A's.
Speaking of Leafs, JVR. A lot of people were getting upset that he wasn't traded.
You guys think they should have moved him?
Why would you trade him now? Like, you need that guy for the playoffs. It's not like they're guaranteed pretty much to make the playoffs.
I think people that talk about how it was a missed opportunity, I don't think...
They're not sellers.
I don't think that argument
buyers.
is realistic for its real-world application because...
That would be a perfect case of, we lost JVR. The whole team would be deflated.
Because, like, when you see hypotheticals thrown out, it's, trade JVR for... like essentially the same that Nash got, and then use those assets to get a defenseman, and then trade for one of the power forwards being offered right now. It's just there's so many moving parts. What happens if you sell JVR and you go after a McDonough and you don't get him, and then you have to overpay for a power forward that's going to be inferior to JVR? I mean,
plus, JVR is such a bonus. Even if you don't get anything back from him, even if you don't sign him again. He's such a bonus. We traded Luke Shen for JVR, 1-for-1, and then signed him for $4.5 million.
They signed him to that. Leafs didn't. Philly did.
Right. Sorry, yeah.
Yeah, but it was still unbelievable
contract.
Yeah.
Great trade.
One of the best values in the NHL right now.
Like crazy. So,
a lot of...
Just right until the wheels fall off.
My issue with JVR, though, is that I find that he's kind of a one-trick pony. And he's like a guy who's only good around the net.
He's found his niche for sure.
He's found his niche, but he's not a traditional power forward where he'll go into the corners and get pucks. He'll just stand right in front of the goalie, wait for a puck to come his way, and try and bang in at rebounds.
And that's what that's what it is.
They're good.
He is a one-trick pony, and a lot of the criticisms of him are true. But he scores. I mean, for whatever reason, he finds a way to.
Totally right.
Very consistent goal scorer and the hardest thing to do in the NHL is score goals.
Interesting note, actually, breaking news. The Canucks lineup today in practice. Guess who Brandon Leipzig's playing with? Player who they acquired at the deadline.
That AHLer?
Brandon Leipzig, former Maple Leaf.
Yeah, I know. But, is he playing with that AHLer?
NHL.
What's the name of the AHLer they got in the Vanek deal? Is that who he's playing with?
No, he's playing with Bo Horvat and Brock Besser on the top line.
Oh.
I thought you were saying he was playing with someone they just got. I was like,
no, he's playing with Horvat and Besser. That's hilarious.
Why not? They'll put up points.
Why not? He's a guy who people have been waiting for 2 years to break out.
They'll see how.
Who's that guy?
Leipzig?
They'll see how he never quite made it.
I mean.
Yeah.
It's.
He is a fringe.
He's got a relentless motor.
Yeah, I like him as a player. I think people, especially in the market of Toronto, fall in love with these people that are on the bubble of the roster and tend to hype up their value.
He's probably a very nice person.
Are you surprised that Levo didn't get traded?
I mean, no. I don't really know even how to view that. I mean, he's a good player. He's too good for them to just say, okay, we're going to trade him for a random pick, because if a player does go down,
he can slot in.
Exactly, and he's probably one of the best, sixth man to use the basketball. I mean, he's just having him there is a good throw-in, and it's better than most of the other options. But I do feel for the kid.
But he's no Druin, It's not like
He's no Druin.
he's not calling the shots with the trades here. Not that Druin was either.
Hey, Pat.
It's not like he's saying I'm going to refuse to play unless you trade me. I guess he kind of is.
You guys want to play a game?
I'd love to play a game.
Would you like to play some cosine, no
I like
sine?
where this is going.
You haven't played this game before.
No, I haven't. I've never been on this podcast before.
All right, 1 sec. Let me get through this ad read, and I'll tell you how to play. This segment is brought to you by BTB Mortgage Solutions. They may not know hockey, but they know mortgages. Visit them online at beatthebankmortgage.ca. Free consultation, no obligation mortgage advice from homeowners themselves. So this is how the game works. I'm going to make a statement, and if you agree, you cosign. If you disagree, you no sign. You got it?
If I agree, I sign.
Yeah, if you agree, you say cosign. If you disagree, you say no sign.
Okay.
Got it?
Yes.
You remember how to play?
Sure do.
Question number 1. Fellas. Rick Nash finds the fountain of youth and scores 10 goals with the Bruins.
No sign.
From now until the start of playoffs or collective including playoffs?
How many games?
You know what? We'll make
16
it.
games?
We'll make it 13 and include the playoffs.
And they have 20 games left?
Well, that's...
Well, like 18.
I expect Boston to make it like a semi-deep.
I mean, I had to think about it, but I'm going to no sign. I mean, he had,
I'm going to say no sign.
what, like 16 goals at this point? Like, he's just not who he
has
used
a
to
lot
be.
of things
18,
to
yeah,
offer,
18.
but he's not
But
the power
I'll say no
forward
sign.
scorer he once was.
So both y'all no signs?
No sign.
Okay. Number 2. Peter Mrazek will start a playoff game this season.
Cosign.
Cosign.
Peter Mrazek's on fire, and he's a very good goalie. And he got dragged down by the swamp of Detroit.
Very underrated deal that we actually didn't talk about.
Yeah, I like that deal a lot. I mean,
Yeah.
He's been... he's a good player.
He's been great. He's been
I hope
fantastic.
he's finally the guy that Philly needs, because it's literally been like 30 years.
They've been looking for a guy since, like, Roman Chickmanic. Long time.
great name drop.
Long time.
They had Bobrovsky, but then traded him.
For nothing.
Yeah.
They can trade him for Steve Mason, no? It was like kind of a
I can't even
straight-up deal.
keep track. Was he maybe included in the... No, he wouldn't be included in the Brizgalov one.
No.
Who that? Who
I
knows?
think it was Steve Mason. He went from... He was
Oh, yeah,
young
that
at
would
the
make
time.
sense going to
Yeah.
Columbus, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Question number 3. Evander Kane will outscore Thomas Tatar, who received a first-round pick in the trade deadline, from now until the end of the season.
No sign.
Cosign.
Cosign?
Yeah.
And no sign. We have discrepancy here. Why do you
I
cosign?
think Evander Kane... I mean, he'll slot right into that power play unit. Pavelski around him, Logan Couture. I just think he's a person that can score goals, and he doesn't need the offense to run through him. He's better when he's surrounded by people that can get him the puck. I just think he's in a better situation. Whereas Tatar, you don't know where he's going to go.
Build me a case around Tatar. Patrick Stothers.
First of all, I don't think Kane is going to slot in with San Jose. It's a new team. It's a different style.
Well, they went to get him for a reason. They needed goals.
I mean, that's like Tatar.
Well,
Tatar
we'll
slides
see.
in.
We'll see
Different team, different style.
But this is why I think Tatar will be successful on Vegas. On a given night, you face a team. You face the Pittsburgh Penguins. Their game plan is Sidney Crosby and Evgeny Malkin. You face the Toronto Maple Leafs. It's Austin Matthews. You face the Edmonton Oilers. It's Connor McDavid. When you face the Golden Knights, who are you focusing on? James Neal?
The whole team.
The whole team is capable
William
of scoring.
Karlsson.
Exactly. You can throw Tatar on lines 1 through 3, and he'll be a threat on the wing. And I think he could be rejuvenated also.
Okay.
I see promise in him. I think there was a time where him and Nyquist were on par, and Nyquist sort of took it over, but I think Tatar's a good player. And I think he will outscore Kane, mostly because you guys are ripping on the deal.
No, I actually like your thinking there, as opposed to, like, he's not going to have to go up against teams' top pairing defensemen.
No.
He might have to go up against bottom pairing defensemen, which will give him a better opportunity to score, whereas Kane will probably go up against more lethal defensive pairings. So I like that line of thinking, actually. Question number 4. Torts will tear Vanek a new one and give him the old health bomb at some point between now and the end of the season.
Cosign. No matter... Torts is torts. It's going to happen.
Sorry, rephrase the question.
He's going to healthy scratch Thomas Vanek.
He's going to scratch Vanek.
Because he doesn't play defense. And
Is there
Torch
trouble
system,
yet?
You gotta play defense.
Is he getting limited minutes yet?
I don't think they've played a game yet.
Here's what I will say. No sign. Because, first of all, Patrick Allen. Can't agree with that guy. But I think Vanek is a seasoned pro. He's a vet, and he's going to adapt to what his coach asks of him. And
hasn't happened his entire career. Why is it going to happen now with Torch?
We'll see. They went out and got him for a reason, right? That's what.
Right. It was an interesting ad, though, considering that it seems like Vanek and Torch are totally going to just butt heads the entire time.
I like that.
Number
I'm all
5.
for Torch button heads.
Yes.
Yeah,
Number 5.
Yep.
Michael Grabner will have more points than Paul Stastny between now and the playoffs. So for the rest of the regular season. Grabner went to New Jersey.
That's right. Stastny's a two-way center.
Yep.
I just don't see where Stastny's going to be firing points on the Jets. The points are going to be coming
last night in his first game.
The points are going to be coming from their
points,
top 2 lines. And Stastny's their third line center, right?
He slotted in, probably a third line.
So he
center.
will be he'll be getting more defensive minutes. So from that sense, Grabner is going to get those breakaways. I think Stastny's a better player, but Grabner might put up more points on a Hot Devils team with Taylor Hall. Maybe we'll see.
Okay, all right.
I'll go with Stastny.
That's a poor choice.
1 year of watching Grabner in Toronto. Guy's got unbelievable speed, but at times
Does he have 20 goals again?
He's got 25 this year, and he had 27 last year.
Having a good one.
That's crazy. How many assists?
When you watch a guy get denied
2
on
assists.
15 consecutive breakaways, it burns of.
It's amazing, right? How do you not have 3 moves perfected to the goalie's gonna get one of them, right? I don't know.
So you're no signing that one.
You think Stastny's gonna outscore Grabner?
Yes.
That's probably wise.
I don't know. That's a toss up.
I was just being.
I think that's a toss-up.
I was being devil's advocate.
No, I honestly think that's a tough one. A toss up there. Okay, last one. Number 6.
It's better be juicy.
Erik Karlsson does not get traded by July 1st. The specific day.
Wait.
July 1st.
I think he's getting traded. I don't think he's making it past the draft.
I will co-sign. I think he's going to get traded at the exact same time Kyle Turris was traded this season.
November?
A month or two into the season?
Yeah.
Why?
Because it's just a dumpster fire in Ottawa.
Because Ottawa's just dumb and
just
they don't know how to do things properly.
No, that's why.
That makes sense. That does.
No, realistically, though, he probably will be traded before June 1st.
Yeah.
Unless they somehow pull some magic to make the team good again, which I don't see.
I think he's getting traded. I'm also no signing that one. But all right, that will bring conclusion to Cosign No Sign segment brought to you by BTB Mortgage Solutions. Oh man,
or they'll
guys!
Sign him. I think they might sign him.
What?
I think they'll sign him long term.
Hey, he's going to be given a contract offer on July 1st if he's there. That's what Pierre Dorian said.
Emphasis on the if.
There was a big emphasis on the if. And that's going to do it for us here today on the podcast. We got quite a bit unpacked there. It was a pretty busy month, pretty busy last couple of days for the NHL and the trade deadline. I'd like to thank you for listening and supporting the show. You can subscribe on iTunes now. Just search Mickey Mike Show on iTunes and hit subscribe. Follow the show on Twitter at Mickey_Mike_show. Follow Patrick Allen on Twitter
at Patrick Allen 92.
And follow Pat Stothers on Twitter. You know your own Twitter, dog?
Yeah, I do.
Don't follow Patrick Stothers on Twitter, apparently. Okay, don't follow Pat Stothers on
Pat
Twitter.
Stothers.
At Pat Stothers.
Stothers spelled Stothers.
And just spam him and
My
call
handle
him an
is
idiot.
At Connor McDavid.
Connor McDavid, he says. All right, guys. Well, I appreciate you guys coming on the show and talking some hockey with me. It's been a while since we've got in here to talk some puck, and I knew the trade deadline just went past, and there's a lot to talk about. So, thanks, man.
Seriously, thanks for having me. It was fun.
It was
Enjoy
fun.
doing these.
Yes, we'll definitely have to have you back on.
I hope you do. He's shaking his head.
No, we won't.
I thought I was good.
Pat Allen, thanks for coming in, man.
Aside.
You've big-timed us for a while. You haven't been back ever since you got your gig with the Leafs, so I'm glad you finally came back.
Must be nice to be turning a show down. I'm just begging to get on it here.
Well, now that I'm a free agent again.
Exactly. All right, thanks guys, for both of you guys for coming in all honesty. But that'll do it for us today. Thank you for listening to The Mickey Mike Show.